All right, and this is okay. What I actually want to talk about is my own kind of experience of practicing Falun Dafa or Falun Gong, and it's all really based on my own myself, um, because so the things that I talked about in the first video, they didn't change. They didn't change. Um, like at this point, had an understanding of right and wrong, and I wanted to do the right thing, but I wasn't able to. What I came to find later on is that, a lot of it is predicated on my notions, and it's not just a matter of wanting to do. And a lot, some of this comes from the book. There's a quote in the book where it basically says that, just because you want to do something doesn't mean you can do it. Your character has to be there. So, for instance, like doing the exercise where you stand for 30 minutes holding different, four different postures, like this, and do that for 30 minutes. I couldn't do that. Like I knew that it was good and I wanted to do it and I knew that it was the best thing that I could do for myself, but I was just basically, now in hindsight, I can tell you more clarity. At the time, I knew it just as well, but there was other like notions that I wasn't as clear on what was going on. Um, because it was just like it was somewhat confusing, but still it was the understanding that I'm just not a good enough person, and that's just the fact. I'm just not that good of a person, even though I want to be a better person. I'm just not that good of a person to do things that I know are the best things to do, at least from my perspective at the time. Um, and so, you know, I guess it wouldn't have been as bad if I'd have had different like motivations, but I really didn't have any other motivations. And it even says in the book, like if you're doing this just like in my own words, like a lifestyle is a way to live your life. That's not what this is about. This is strictly about improving your character, being a better person. And that wasn't my motivation. But again, with all the different ideas that were swirling in my mind and motivations and desires and whatever, it wasn't so clear cut in my mind. And I was so obsessed with just doing this practice because I knew that this was the best thing that I could do and it would give me the biggest rewards. So it was ultimately a selfish motivation. And again, in the book, it says that, that can't really be your motivation. Like at the start, in my own words, you can have this motivation to kind of learn about the practice, but if you're going to progress, you have to, improve your character. And doing the practice does improve your character, but it's ultimately what you do in your regular life, following the standards of the practice in your regular life, being a good person, honesty, kindness, forbearance. And you have to actually do that. And if you do that, you'll get the benefit. If not, then you won't. Because according to the book, the universe is a moral construct. It's based on this principle, honesty, kindness, forbearance, which is morality or character. And so, you know, I kind of didn't know why I couldn't make progress because I had the desire to be a better person, but I wasn't a good enough person. But at the same time, I didn't have any other desires other than to do this practice. So what? But now looking at it, it's clear. Back then, it wasn't as clear, even though all the facts were already there. But there was just too many things mixed in for me to have to be so clear about it, at least to the extent that I am now. And basic and there's and basically like I, about maybe 2 years, 2 or 3 years after I started the practice, there was a distinct realization I'm just not good enough, and I need to find other avenues to be a better person. Not doing other practices, but just other things that are good and positive that I want to do that will help me and that are feasible to improve myself. And that one of them would have been getting on medication and therapy, because one thing that I found is that like my thoughts in my head were so onerous that I just couldn't focus on anything, and they would be precipitated by seemingly trivial things, and I couldn't get over it. But I was so obsessed with just following this practice as I understood it to the best degree that I conceived it that I just didn't want anything else. But it wasn't from a moral standpoint. It truly was from pursuit, because I just wanted to feel like that good about myself. That I wanted to feel great. And yeah, so that nothing good came out of that. I ended up doing things that were unhealthy and that felt good, but ended up getting a bad result. And to the extent that I was still clear minded and trying to do the right thing, I got a good result. But to the extent that I wasn't, I got a bad result. And ultimately, since it was predicated on the wrong thing, even though I made some progress, um, it was a failure. It was a total loss in the end. And now it's 2023, so now it's been 16 years since the time this happened. Um, and that's basically what I can say. So all this is in within the book that practicing is a process of falling down, you know, and you will be made to fall down and learn from your mistakes. But the question again, this is just my own words, are you going to learn from your mistakes or not? And what prevents you from learning from your mistakes is, having pursuits and attachments and selfish attachments as opposed to doing things unconditionally. And you know, without pursuit and you know, um, when I couldn't do the practice unconditionally because I had too many pursuits and things like that, I didn't do other things unconditionally that would have helped and aligned with the practice. Instead, I did things that didn't align with the practice. And I'm not just talking about the practice of the specific practice of Falun Gong. I just mean doing the right thing in general. I didn't do the right thing unconditionally. If I was doing the right thing, it was predicated on getting benefit out of it. And to the extent that I wasn't doing things for the sake of getting benefit out of it, then things did work out, and I did get benefit from it. So that just kind of how it works. All right, I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to make one more segment.